Hello and welcome. My name is Cassandra, aka The Prosperous Heart, owner of www.prosperousheart.com. And in today's video, I am going to be moving forward with my 5-day marketing bootcamp. And this week, as the first week of 2018, I will be covering copywriting mastery. Although obviously you can't master copywriting in a week, and definitely not in as little time as I'll be sharing with you today. But these are just to get you going so that you can create better results for your business in 2018. So, like I said, this is for Dangerously Persuasive Copywriting, week 1, day 2 of this 5-day bootcamp, particularly for copywriting. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover why you need to meet their needs, their meaning your prospects, your potential customers or current customers. What is Dangerously Persuasive Copywriting? And since I did cover this a little bit in yesterday's video, I'm going to share a little bit different pieces of information today. Why should you trust what I'm sharing? Addressing your prospects' questions, storytelling, ways to craft your story, and next steps. But first, the reason why this is called Dangerously Persuasive Copywriting is because there are people out there who understand how to address people's innate human desires and their needs in order to be dubious about what it is that they're doing. And so the very first thing that I'm going to have you do is raise your hand right here with me and say after me, I solemnly swear to use this information only for the good of mankind. I will not take advantage of or manipulate in a harmful or hurtful way, for I am a source for good on this planet. Thank you so much for doing that with me. We can now move forward with our prosperous hearts. So, why should you meet their needs? Well, first of all, we follow those who meet our needs. We love those who meet our needs. We listen to them and we do some crazy things for people who meet our needs. As I mentioned before, there have been times in past where people's needs were met by dubious people. For example, those crazy cults where those poor kids, basically killed themselves because they followed someone who was meeting their needs, right? So you've got to be a force for good and use what you're learning in this copywriting mini course in order to create some good in your world for your customers and for the people in your life. So manipulating the almighty, insatiable, and undeniable needs. Humans have a select few needs that they will do literally anything for. And the thing is that you're going to become wealthy beyond your wildest dreams when you become a master persuader. And the only way to do that is by eliciting emotions that fulfill these needs. So all sales are a transfer of emotions. Without emotion, you will never make any money in your business or in your job. The one thing that you need to remember is that it's not what you say, it's how they feel. You've probably heard the term that, facts tell, but stories sell. This is a perfect example for that. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You've got to pass on that transfer of emotions. So, the degree in which you can manipulate with and quench your prospects' needs will determine your ultimate success in copywriting. As I mentioned yesterday, manipulation usually has a negative connotation, but it's actually something where you're skillfully maneuvering things and you're actually crafting and all of that. And so, if you missed that video, either go to my page or my YouTube or my blog or, go ahead and join the bootcamp, and get that information. But when you effectively manipulate and quench your prospects' needs, you will be able to provide a sense of hope that they can accomplish whatever task or goal they're looking for, that there is a gateway or a bridge to their better life, that they can achieve their dreams. You've got to paint that picture. You are their scriptwriter. So part of being a master copywriter is that you also have the opportunity to provide them with a scapegoat. Now, we are all, we should all be responsible for our own actions because they are our choices based off of our thoughts and our beliefs. But if you're looking to ethically hack into your prospect's brain, you want to provide them a scapegoat. Oh, are you not getting the leads that you're looking for in your business? There might be something that your upline's not telling you, right? Give them a scapegoat. Let them think that it's not their fault, right? Show them the way so that they can improve on whatever facet they're looking for. So what exactly is dangerously persuasive copywriting? Again, I did cover this a little bit differently in yesterday's video, but I wanted to touch on this a little bit more today because I do have additional information for you. So dangerously persuasive copywriting is anything that holds your attention long enough to get your money. This is Joe Vitale. He's an incredible guy. You should definitely check him out. You also need to be engaging. The goal of literally every word, every sentence, every paragraph is to get them to read the next line. So once you do that, that's when you get out of your head and into your prospects. That's the whole point, because it's not what you want, it's what they want, their desires, their needs, right? So again, not about you. It's not about your product. It is not about your service. It's all about them, all about their thoughts, and you must understand their innate needs in order to do so. If you want to have that hypnotic buyer's trance where they just want to buy from you no matter what you say, you have to address their thoughts, not yours, and you have to meet them where they are in their mind. Whatever objections they have, wherever they are currently in their decision, you've got to meet them where they are. And again, as I said before, it's not the facts of your company. You can state the feature, but why does it matter to your prospect? For example, oh, Bob Jones, or whatever your prospect name might be, yes, we are in fact debt-free for over 5 years, and and the reason why this matters is because we're here for the long haul for you and your family. Right? You've got to twist it, right? You can state that feature, but why does it matter to your prospect? Who cares, right? Why should they care? Why should they listen? So I did want to provide this warning. Again, this is dangerously persuasive copywriting. When you are inside the mind of the person that you're trying to persuade, aka influence their buying decision, this is a very dangerous and very profitable place to be. So you want to make sure that you are, again, focusing on them and getting them to where you want them to logically follow. So why should you trust this information? I shared this yesterday, but I do want to show this again for those that are brand new to the bootcamp. The information I'm sharing with you today and this week was shared to me and provided by a very highly successful copywriter. And what I'm sharing has helped countless people improve their marketing and create sales conversions. Over 3,000 people registered to attend this training, and the person who shared this information was initially mentored by Mike Dillard. He has since gone on and spent tens of thousands of dollars on courses and trainings on this subject, and his sole purpose is to help people and make as much money as possible doing it. Now, I don't know about you, but helping rise other people up while you're also rising up yourself, that whole a rising tide rises all boats. This guy's amazing. I've met him. He's absolutely wonderful and heart of gold. So now, when you're addressing your prospects' questions, you want to anticipate their questions, objections, and concerns. You want to address them at the exact moment that they're thinking about them, because this is the key to hypnotic writing. Now, when you want to lead your prospect to your way of thinking so that they do what you want and make that buy, again, you must meet them where they are. So throughout your entire sales video, sales letter, you must continually ask yourself, what is my viewer thinking now? Now, language is everything. The wrong words, the wrong verbiage, and you could have them running for the hills, right? So I just want to provide a few examples to kind of get your brain thinking on how you can tweak your current copy and move forward, okay? So after a big hook or promise, you want to anticipate what they'll think, okay? So first of all, this is a terrible statement. You don't want to say this to them. Hard to believe? Sound crazy? The reason for this is because it instills the thought that what you are saying is hard to believe. They may not even be thinking it, but they are now, right? And it's basically a command in the form of a question. So when you're saying hard to believe, sound crazy, you're telling them this is hard to believe. This totally sounds crazy, right? So here's a better way to put that. Sound too good to be true? So hard to believe, sound too good to be true. They sound like they would be similar, but again, it really is talking to their subconscious, so you want to make sure that you're saying the right words. So sound too good to be true is much better than, hard to hear or whatever. So again, this is example number 2. So let's say that you're at the end of your presentation and you might say, I know what you've been thinking, right? And everybody's thinking, how much is it? What's the price? Probably, right? Well, you don't want to say, okay, I get it, but I don't think I could really do this, right? This is a horrible thing to say to somebody, and here's why. When the better way to do it would be, okay, I get it, but could I really do this? The first one already basically tells their brain, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, of course the author escapes my brain right now, but there's a person who states that whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So by saying, but I don't think I could really do this, this is having their brain thinking that, right? I don't think I could really do this versus, could I really do this? Because what happens is your brain is looking for similarities all the time, right? And if you ask your brain a question and you ask it the right questions, it will start to think about how it can create that for you. It always wants to be doing whatever it is that you want it to do, right? So it's going to look for ways to make whatever it is that you want happen and fill the void. So in this situation, and actually in all situations, could is 100 times more powerful than can, because can indicates a yes or no question. So for example, okay, I get it, but can I really do this? Yes or no. That's it, right? Okay, I get it, but could I really do this? Well, there's no yes or no to that. Could I? How could I do this? Okay. So here's another example is the cost objection. So maybe you're thinking, I can't afford this, or this is really expensive. This is a horrible thing to say, again, because you are telling them something, right? So if they weren't thinking it before, and most likely they weren't, they now are thinking, I can't afford this. This is really expensive, even if it's really not, right? So you never want to say the word expensive. This is not going to fill a need, nor is it going to put anyone into a buying trance, and it's, for the most part, going to put most people off. So the better way of stating this is if you are addressing the cost objection in your presentation, because that's where you feel like your prospect would be, you would want to say, so maybe you're thinking, is there enough value here? Or is this worth it to my business? Or maybe even, could I afford this? Again, there's that could, not can, right? So you always want to sell on value, never on price. So if you are asking your your potential customers that I can't afford this, this is really expensive, etc., you are not focusing on the value and what it's bringing to them. So storytelling. Your product, service, or offer is not important. I'm sorry if that burst your bubble. It's true. It's not important. What's important is the story that's tied to it. It shows people that regular Joe Schmo can do this, then I can too. Or, hey, that person has the same excuses that I did, but they went out and did it anyway, so hey, I can too, right? It's all about the story. So when you're writing this story, whether it's in a video sales letter or a regular, copyright sales video or sales letter, there we go. You want to write in the way that people think, feel, and make decisions. This is not an option because that's how the subconscious brain works, okay? So your unconscious mind, which is where all of your programming is stored, where you've learned throughout your life, all the things that you've accumulated, whether true or untrue, is in your unconscious mind, and it can only be tapped through stories. The human body sends over 11 million bits per second to the brain, but the conscious mind only seems to process 50 bits per second. So it's a minute piece of what it's able to process, and a lot of that is based off of what your brain already is programmed to look for, okay? So an honest story, and I say honest because, again, you really don't want to lie. Do not lie about a story. Do not make up a story. Do not pay someone to write a testimonial about your product or service that they've never used before. The reason for this is because, one, if anyone ever found out, they would never trust you again. Two, that is highly unethical. And three, well, that's really the most of it, right? So an honest story slips past the security guard, aka your conscious mind, and past your mental radar into your subconscious so that it can start to see that story and see that picture and that viewpoint for themselves in where they are at right now. So again, your unconscious mind is very much like a 7-year-old. It speaks in metaphors, images, pictures, and your gut feeling, such as, oh man, he or she is the one, or, this is the industry to be in, that gut feeling that you have, that's what's going to either get your prospect to buy or not. So that's what you have to speak to. Now, your logical conscious mind is not running the show. I know that this is probably something that people don't agree with because that's your conscious mind. You're making decisions to read that book or do that personal development or learn copywriting, right? But that's not true. Your unconscious mind is your programming, and it only speaks in stories. So let's go ahead and talk about tapping into the subconscious with storytelling. When people read your story, it's going to take place in their mind's eye. They're going to start creating pictures and images in their brain, kind of like a movie. So now, as you're telling the story, you're in their head and beginning to influence, aka control, their thoughts. So your goal is to keep them focused on what they get from your product or service. You want to keep them focused with a story that reminds them of their wants or needs. Are they a single mom with 2 jobs? Find a story with a single mom who was able to do it and didn't have any time. Are they a doctor? Then, whatever the case may be that their problem, their issue is, you've got to find a story that resonates with their desires, needs, and problems. So something that most people who are trying to write copy, they shove a conclusion down people's throat versus naturally leading them to make a conclusion based off of the story, based off of what they feel like they could create in their life from what you've shared. You want to lead them to make a conclusion to support your proposition. So here's something that most people never realize. People sometimes believe what they're told, but they never doubt what they themselves conclude. For example, have you ever met somebody, or maybe met them a second time, and there was something weird about how they interacted with you, and you find out later that, oh, well, they don't like you. Oh gosh, what happened? Well, when they first met you, they saw you do X, Y, and Z, and so now they don't even want to deal with you, right? People will make decisions, split decisions even, about everything, and that's based off of what they conclude, and what they conclude, they don't doubt. So I wanted to share this story with you because I thought it was so perfect. A gentleman went in to see this therapist, and he was trying to quit smoking, and so the therapist started telling this guy a story. And he was telling him about this gentleman who lived out in, middle of nowhere, and he and his wife and his kid were about to sit down to dinner when he saw a horse out in front of his house. And, he just felt it in his stomach that he needed to go help this horse because around where he was at, if you lost a horse, it was pretty rough. So he told his wife, I'm going to go find the horse's owner. I will be back, soon. So he goes out and he gets on the horse and he says, you know what to do. So the horse goes off and starts traveling for a little ways, and then finally it comes to a fork in the road and looks confused and nervous. And the gentleman leans down into his ear and he says, you know what to do. And then the horse takes a left and starts traveling for a little while until he gets to another fork in the road, looks confused and is agitated and doesn't know where to go. The guy leans down one more time and says, you know what to do. And this just keeps going until finally the gentleman and the horse come to the house where the horse is living and is owned by this owner. And the lady comes out and she goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much for finding my horse. Where did you find him? And turns out it was like 50 miles away, right? And so, she thanks the farmer and they part ways, and, he feels great. Well, the gentleman who was hearing the story from the therapist got very upset, did not understand what was going on, left in a huff, and was, just blowing smoke and just, real upset. He gets home and tells his wife the story, and she's like, oh, okay, well, did you smoke? And he goes, no, I didn't. So here's the kicker. Whenever he got into his car, that was the key in his brain, his subconscious mind, to light up a cigarette and de-stress. But because he had his mind focused somewhere else based off of this story, right, he did not even have that subconscious mind trigger. Okay? So that story got to him, right? So ways to craft your story. You want to think of a true story that happened as a result of someone using your product or service. If you're trying to persuade, again, provide a true story about someone who had the same struggles and still did what you want the person you are persuading to do. Now, when stories are done properly, they work because the unconscious mind comes to a conclusion. That's why stories sneak in better than any command, because you are allowing the person to make their own conclusion based off of what you are sharing. So again, be a force of good with this knowledge. This literally is dangerously persuasive copywriting, and you could, in theory and very practically, do some damage here, but just be a force of good with this knowledge, all right? So what are your next steps? If you haven't already, go ahead and join my free 5-day marketing bootcamp group. The first option to join is to send that keyword 5DMBC to my Facebook page. Option 2, if available, is to click the link above or below this video, and both of these are going to put you on my messenger bot. And what this is going to do is you're going to receive occasional updates from me on things that I think will help you either benefit your business or benefit you. But especially, you will be receiving updates about the 5-day marketing bootcamp challenges. Now, next step, participate in the mini daily challenges. I'm going, with every video I share into the group, which this is going to be shared in there today, every time I share these videos, I also provide little mini challenges to help you take actionable steps and progress towards your goals. Now, when you complete all 5 and show proof, you will receive private access to an invitation-only webinar to get your questions answered and to dive deeper into different marketing tactics. So you also want to test. Some things that you do won't work, especially if you're just starting out with copywriting. And some copy works for some audiences and some copy really just flops. So as with marketing and really anything, you just have to test what works for you. And finally, simply have fun. So what we covered today: why we need to meet our prospects' needs. What is dangerously persuasive copywriting? Why should you trust what I'm sharing? Addressing your prospects' questions, storytelling, ways to craft your story, and next steps. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Cassandra, aka The Prosperous Heart, owner of www.prosperousheart.com. Can't wait to see you inside of the group. Have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day.